So recently, I was thinking of unique dungeon quest ideas, content-wise, and I realized that I've been skipping out on a huge market. What if I tried to recreate Dungeon Quest in Unity? And that's what I'm doing. I was just going to start with the spawn room of Desert Temple for now, and I do have plans to expand on and create more of the map later on. So what I did is I went into Dungeon Quest, obviously, and I took pictures. Took pictures of the spawn room, and I used that as a reference on my other monitor when I was creating this. And as you can see, I'm using the this is VR chat compatible. I haven't uploaded it because I want to finish it before I would do that. So at the end of the series, you're going to see me walking around in VR in it. But I use this player model, the average size player model, as reference for the Dungeon Quest model. And right now, I'm just creating the spawn room, and I did mess up on one thing. I created the spawn room more squarey when it is more rectangular. But, you know, you live, you learn. I realized that at the end. I was like, well, whatever. So right now, I'm just creating the walls. And, you know, just making sure everything lines up. And I have to say, the hardest part, the part that took the longest was getting the colors and the texture right. Because the texture that was used in Dungeon Quest is the concrete texture. But obviously Unity and Roblox don't have the same textures, and I was using a third-party website to find textures. So it took me a little while, but I settled on a concrete texture that looked similar, but obviously it's not the same. So, yeah. Right now I'm just getting the door, because I got the main walls, and I'm going to get the door done before I do the textures. And you're just going to see me modeling it out right now. I was using a 1:1 picture on my other monitor. You'll see it. I bring it up on the first monitor a couple times. But I'm just sculpting the map out. And I really do want to do the next part of the map in Unity. Yeah, but I figured, I was planning on doing it this video, but I thought that it would be better as a second part because this one was already, you know, I was already like 54 minutes in. So this is like 5 times speed. Figured I'd make a good part 2 and, you know, more videos, more content. So I'll probably, depending on the feedback, you know, if this gets no views, and I'm probably not going to do a second one because obviously it takes a decent amount of time, and I want people to at least, you know, enjoy the experience. And at the end, you know, if I do end up making the map, I'm thinking of, even if I do, I might do enemies. Might add enemies. I don't know if they're gonna move or chase or things like that, but they'll be there. That's a whole different ballpark when it comes to coding in Unity, especially because this is Udon, which is a VR chat compatible. So that's what I'm planning on uploading it for at the end. So I'm not sure about that, but I do want to continue on the map at least, even if the enemies aren't going to be moving and crap, because I think it's cool and it's something new. So in these times when Dungeon Quest hasn't updated much at all recently, with it being on the edge, you know, people are kind of stopping content-wise, but I figured you got to think outside the box. And I have sculpted worlds before. It is something I know how to do to an extent, so I figured I would apply my knowledge to Dungeon Quest. So right now I'm just making the gaps in the doors. I'm going to merge all the blocks together soon after. You know, if you ever want to get into Unity yourself, sculpting, game creating, I would recommend it. It's not that hard to create worlds. Scripting, on the other hand, I don't really know how to do that much, so not really my part. But when it comes to basic world creating, especially when it comes to VR chat worlds, I can do that. If you don't know what VR chat is, it's pretty much a VR world game. And there's worlds in it, and you can make your worlds from your computer. And this is something I know to do, and you have to use Unity for it. I'm using the VRC Creator Companion myself instead of Unity Hub. So I'm just going through fixing it because they're overlapping each other. There we go. So I'm going to merge these blocks together. to create them one instead of several different ones. Put it back into place, and then I'm going to duplicate it and mirror it around the other side. There you go. So that's the spawn room, basic spawn room made. So now I'm going to be hunting for textures after I merge the walls and the ceilings together to make it more organized. Now I'm texture hunting currently. This is obviously me talking over the video. So I had a pretty tough time finding a good texture for this. I went through some sand ones, some rock ones. I eventually ended up on the Roblox wiki looking and found out that they used a concrete texture for this. So I had to use what I had, the closest concrete texture I could find. It isn't that good, but you know, you deal with what you got. And at least you can tell that it's obviously the spawn room from Dungeon Quest if you played the game before, from my desert temple. So I did pause a few times here and there to just, while I was getting different textures and stuff, because it takes a little while. So this is me trying out one. Obviously I didn't really like how it looked. It was just too sandy, too rocky. So I tried this different concrete texture, which is closer to what I was looking for, but obviously it just had too many little imperfections, little rocks in it. This wasn't close enough, and it looked really ugly of color. And eventually I ended up with this concrete texture, which looked pretty dang close to what Dungeon Quest had in the Desert Temple. Obviously it's not one-to-one, it's impossible. I can't port Roblox textures to Unity, and I wouldn't even know where to start if I did. So I just found this one and I went with it. You know, I changed the color around, applied it to walls, and at the end it turned out pretty alright considering what I was working with. At this point, when I was starting the test, well, not at this point, I'll get to it in a moment. I'm starting to test out the world. I think I did the start button first, because you know Dungeon Quest is that green start button in the bottom right. Obviously I can't put it in my GUI, so I made it on the wall instead, a clickable thing. In game, you'll see when I start testing the world out. I just made a little panel that you can click on. It has the same look as the start. I made it green, and then I made the text pale yellowish as it is in game. And also has a green outline, or a gray outline, sorry. And I put that in, and I changed the color back, and that's generally how it looks, besides the gray outline on the green box, but I can't really do that. So I left it like that, and then of course I need to do the scripting, so when you're in game you can click start and it'll make the wall disappear. So that's something right now. You know, door start, which is the door, with game object set active, which sees if it's active or not. Get active self means it checks for its active self. Unary negation means that if you press it, it'll negate. And this is a script, so if you click it, it'll turn off. It'll detect if it's on or off, and then it'll do the opposite. So if it's off, it'll turn on. If it's on, it'll turn off. That's what this does. And I made it. And this is the point I started testing out. I made the spawn, and for some reason it kept on spawning me in the walls. And it took me a second to figure it out, because I was really confused. I was like, why is it spawning me in the walls? And the reason why it looks so dark is because there's no light, and while it looks like there's light, that's just to make it easier while you're seeing, but when you play, that's how it's going to look in the game. So it took me a good moment to figure out why it was spawning me in the walls. Eventually I figured out that it was spawning me at VRC World and not at my spawn button for some reason. But I fixed it, and I had to mess around with the lights after that, which took a good moment. So you can see I moved it here in the middle where you'd spawn out in game. And I didn't make the secret room for the Excalibur sword in this because there's not really a reason to. here I am. I spawn in. You can see that the start button works in the brief moment I showed it. I'll show it again at the end. And I started using area light, but I realized that it wasn't going to work really the way I wanted to. Um, it only really worked with baking, and baking is when you generate the light before you join the game and not as you join the game. So I decided to go with a point light instead of an area light because I didn't really feel like messing with baking and stuff. Um, so I'm gonna delete this here in a moment because I was just baking right here, which I just didn't really give me the desired effect, and it looked like muddy and dark, and it made the walls look like crap. So I decided not to. So you're gonna see that I decided to just delete the area light and go with a point light, which spawns light at a point and it goes out in a direction. There you go. And there you go. You can see that the point light lights up the whole area. It has Dungeon Quest has little shadows in the corner, but that's really hard to create an effect of. So I couldn't really do that. So you're gonna have to deal with it. Sorry. I'm nearly done here. This is pretty much the finished result besides a few final touches of colors. And if you enjoyed this video, guys, and you want like a part two, me to do more of the world, eventually we could finish and upload the game, I'd really appreciate if you could subscribe, like, comment. Any support motivates me and helps me out. And have a good day, guys, and stay nice up there. See ya.